Comments for the week ending September 25th from the beef farmers of Ontario. There were 603 head of fed steers and heifers sold through auction markets last week, up 108 head from the previous week. Fed steers averaged 314.46 per hundredweight, down 12.63 per hundred, and fed heifers averaged 311.42 per hundredweight, down 13.75 per hundred from the previous week's trade. Auction markets reported that fed steers and heifers sold around $5 per hundredweight lower. In Ontario, packers have pulled their bids and no cash sales were reported last week. For the week ending September 13th, Eastern fed cattle and cow exports to the U.S. were 3,175 head, 5% above last year and 55% above the 5-year average. Year-to-date, Eastern fed cattle and cow exports were 2% lower than last year. Cull cow receipts sold through auction markets last week were 1,916 head, up 236 head from the previous week. Cows averaged 186.86 per hundredweight, down 9.23 per hundred. Beef cows averaged 202.16 per hundredweight, down 15.10 per hundred from the previous week's trade. Auction reported that cull cows sold easier. Total receipts were 10,517 head last week. Receipts of 6,022 stock and feeder cattle sold through Ontario auction markets last week, up 1,297 head from the previous week. Auction markets reported on Friday, September 19th, the calves and yearlings sold steady. By Thursday, stockers sold selectively at barely. The Quebec electronic market last week sold at 522 to 524 per hundredweight dressed on a picked-up basis. Last week, Alberta fed prices continued to hover near record highs, with fed steers and heifers averaging $312.52 per hundredweight and $309.20 per hundredweight respectively. Traditionally, at this time of year, fed prices are putting in annual lows. Since the beginning of July, fed prices have rallied 7%. Looking at the past 15 years, this stands as the second third quarter rally, with only 2011 being larger, when prices advanced 9%. Dress sales were reported at $5.20 to $5.25 per hundredweight delivered, steady to $2 per hundred lower than the previous week. Cattle that traded were scheduled for delivery throughout October. Fed cattle from Saskatchewan and Manitoba are coming into Alberta for processing. By Thursday, September 25th, light trade developed, with dress sales reported at $5.20 to $5.25 per hundredweight delivered, fully steady with the previous week. For the week ending September 20th, Western Canadian fed processing was 39,597 head, 6.4% lower than last year. The U.S. cash cattle trade last week saw dress sales in the northern reported at $3.65 per hundredweight, $3 to $9 per hundred lower than the previous week. Live sales in the north started out at $2.32 per hundredweight. However, by the end of the week, sales were at $2.35 per hundredweight, $4 to $5 per hundred lower. Sales in Texas and Kansas were mostly at $2.37 per hundredweight, $3 per hundred lower. USDA released its quarterly hogs and pigs report the other day. Despite profitability and lower feed grain prices, expansion does not seem to be taking place. Total hogs and pigs were down 1.3% versus last year. Breeding hog inventories were down 1.8% and were the lowest since 2014. Lean hog contracts saw triple-digit gains on Friday. This is Jamie Kerr with the Beef Farmers of Ontario Market Information Report.